calling the Special Finance Committee to order for Tuesday, October 12th, 2021. Members present, Bruce Truca, James Me, and myself, Chair, and Kevin Myers just texted me he is on his way. So, the Special Finance Committee meeting was called by committee members for the limited purpose of discussing the Parcher Road and County Waterlines. And I'm going to turn it over to our Service Safety Director, Jeff.
Thank you, Mr. McKeever. On the one, I just printed out an email that you have from McKeever's, and on Parcher Road, this was part of our Stetzer Road project when we started, gosh, I don't know, a couple years ago, and we actually turned Parcher Road into phase 2 because we didn't know how much Stetzer Road was going to cost. So what Lynn did, McKeever, was break it up into 2. And so now that we got Stetzer Road done and bid, you know, they projected $766,000. It came in at $492,000 and some change. So we had a nice savings there. Hopefully, by the way, they're going to hopefully start next week. The pipe's supposed to arrive, and they needed an address to deliver the pipe. So we got that to them today. So anyway, Parcher Road is kind of the second phase. We want to bring old Route 30 Waterline over to Stetzer Road so they can connect, but we would also pick up Ranchwood and Shady Drive or Shady Lane, whatever that is in there. And right now, McKeever's have it drawn up, and they're really close to get ready to send to the EPA. Because we approved engineering a long time ago for this. They're getting ready to send it to the EPA. We can wait until we get that back to approve it, but I thought while we were meeting, we could talk about it. And Joyce can go over the financials with you if to make sure between that and what we want to do with the county kind of all ties together in the next 2-3 years. But they got a proposal of $375,000 to connect Old 30 and do Shady Drive and Shady Lane Drive and Ranchwood to Stetzer. So it's really up to you guys, and Joyce, you can kind of let them know financially where we are.
Okay, well, looking at what we're going to owe, which is 20% of all these projects, the project 1, 2, and 3, our shares $810,870. Now this is payable over 3 years?
Yeah. Should we do one at a time here? Or is this going to answer?
Well, I don't know if it's going to answer everything or not.
Well, between the two, we know we're going to do, we have these 3 projects, or between the county projects and the Parcher Road project, it's coming in the next 3 years. So
Right.
if you just want to combine both topics right now, if that's all right with you, and then she can continue on where we will be financially, what it's going to cost for 3 years. So, sorry, Joyce, go ahead.
Okay, well, I've been going too many directions lately, so I'm a little and you said that Parcher was $345,000?
$375,000 they have it projected as.
Okay. Okay, so that's 1.1 mil, almost 1.2 million. And so that's about $400,000 a year. We've been carrying over roughly 1.4 to 1.5 million a year at this point. So I think that we can afford to do this. Plus, it's going to be bringing in more revenue as we tie people into our water lines. So I feel like, you know, we need to get this done, and I think that we can, you know, with all this help we're getting from ARPA money through the county, I think now's the time to jump and do what we can do, because I mean, this is really much less cost for us than if we had to do it all ourselves.
Well, the good thing about the county, when they decided to do what they were doing, every year we were putting $115,000 into a water replacement line anyway.
Yes.
So at that point, if you look at that 115 we were constantly putting in every year, actually it would be $285,000 a year which would get you the 400,000 for the next 3 years, which would be the 1.2.
Right.
And we were looking at expanding anyway, so they're gonna pay 80% of it. I think it's a great investment. We also, I don't wanna talk too much about it, we're working on a grant for the tap fees. We're trying to apply for all these projects. It should be getting turned in hopefully this week, and that's through Jennifer Jeanette, and hopefully that will help get people to sign up if we can get that covered, but we don't know. All we can do is apply for it.
So if you get it, they won't have a tax fee.
Correct, but they will have to pay to get it to their house and get it all hooked up. But there would be no tap fee to the city, because this grant would cover that.
This tax fee normally runs with,
7.
2,500 for
Yeah.
out of town.
Yeah.
they still have to run the line after the 2,500.
They'll have to run from the shut off out in the tree lawn. They'll have to run that pipe to the house. But we'll do the tap to the main, get it over to the yard, whether it's on the long side and they have to bore under the road, or the short side, we'll bring it over into the yard and put a shut off. And then they pipe it into the house, and then we provide the meter, the backflow, if they're gonna have a well. If they wanna keep their well, we have to put a backflow in, because we can't have any cross contamination. That's by the EPA standards. I mean, we can't do nothing about that.
So the Bucyrus share is $810,870, it's 20%, correct?
Correct.
Now, that's the estimate.
Over the next.
Yeah, that's
the
from
estimate, and
McKeever's.
our estimate actually came in lower than what,
Our bids have been coming in lower than the
Than the
actual
estimate.
engineer's estimate.
so it could be actually less than this.
Yeah.
It could be.
Could be.
When we started this with the commissioners, it was 90-10. And he called me about 2 weeks ago on a Friday and said they're getting in all the proposals from the other entities. They're helping fund different projects, and they're over. So they had to go back into each one of them and make it 80-20. So ours changed from 10 to 20, just like everybody else's that they're helping, whether it's Crestline, Galleon, townships or villages. So everybody did 20% as their contribution, so.
So Joyce, you're saying that with this estimate of the 1.2 million for Parcher and these 3 projects, we have a carryover, and the 400,000 won't hurt us a bit
No,
for
I
the
don't
3
think
years?
it, no, I don't believe it will. I think it'll be fine.
And we'll have money left over for whatever else if something else comes up? Because we keep putting more money in.
Right, right.
Okay. Got any questions, Jim? For Joyce? Bruce?
Nope.
Kevin's probably the one who'll have questions, and he's not here.
Kevin is the
He's
one that,
stuck behind a train that
Oh.
is going very slow, and he's not going to be able to make it.
I just try to do this all the time.
I mean, I'm no hurry, I just,
well, Kevin, I think, Myers had the question at the one meeting, said, I'd really want to talk to Joyce before I passed it from the county commissioners, so. I just think we need to get this letter to him, because, you know, we're on a time frame that we got to get these done in the next 3 years.
Right.
Yeah,
So it's gonna take us 3 years to do it then?
I would think by the time they get one set of plans done, they start on the next, they start on the next. I know they're in the middle of hiring a new engineer to help. They got a new inspector they got out on our jobs, and, but they're looking to hire another engineer. So, they're getting a little behind, so I hate to give them any more to do, but, and we're also
Yeah.
got Nevada on the back end of that. Could be, we just sent in about 15 pages today, and we got it's called a asset management screening call with Ralph Baker from the EPA. Just got it today. So that'll probably be one day next week. We had a meeting with the EPA last week on the phone about Nevada and the water line, and they were very helpful. You know, we just need to have all your paperwork in this week, which I think we got it all turned in today, but anything they can do to help, they were by far, thought it was a great idea. So
they like
keep
that
your
we're
fingers-
collaborating with
Yeah,
the other villages and whatever.
so if you can have a good conversation with the EPA, that's the best one I think I've ever had.
I wish they'd all go like that on the sewer side of it.
Yeah.
But, oh,
I mean, we can wait for Kevin if you like.
I'm texting right now. Go through you.
Out of curiosity, do you know what it would cost the residents to go from the shut off to their house?
It's by foot.
It's so much by the foot, and I couldn't, it's not very expensive unless you live 400 feet off the road, you know. I think probably most people, if they're maybe 50 yards off the road, 150 feet, might cost them $400 or $500. Now, that probably don't include the piping. That could be just
The labor.
doing the boring, but that's better than drilling a new well.
yeah, a new well is gonna be what, 15, 20,000?
Yeah, if you hit it the
Probably.
first time.
Yeah.
If you hit
If you hit it, yeah,
a good well.
yeah. And not sulfur. And that's hard to find, especially out towards Sulphur Springs.
That's why it's called Sulphur Springs.
That's right. I've lived somewhere where we had sulfur water, and it wasn't that strong, and I still hated it. It was awful.
Well, believe it or not, even though it's called Sulphur Springs, there's a lot of well water in Sulphur Springs.
Yeah.
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 I got a question. So these are the 3 projects, but then there's the 3 additional on the back? Is that what you're saying? What I don't understand is, it says,
Which back are you, I don't have a back.
the email from
Oh,
the top 3. It just says we put together some price for you as requested, see below. The topographical survey for Stetzer.
I was gonna say, is this just using the other side of paper?
Is that what that
Is
is?
this- or-
no, I think this was an email that, when they got back to me from Dylan, that I think he added to, because I had Lynn working on that sidewalk out East Mansfield Street, so I think he just added to that and sent this to me. It's just the 3 projects,
On the front side, the go vertical. Right? Okay. Okay.
I don't have what you're,
Oh, okay.
maybe I do? No. Yeah, yeah, I have this one. I thought it was something else. Oh, it is on the back.
Yeah,
All right.
saving paper.
Well, some of it is part of the engineering fees that were part, to do the surveying, to do Stetzer Road, Phase 1 to 602. That's just some cost that he must have just had on the email. My email what I wanted off of here was Parcher Road, Ranch Wood, and Shady Line Drive Waterline, the 375. So I guess I should have just scratched out everything else, but
Okay. So that's 375 in addition to these 3 projects? From the
Correct.
county? Okay.
That's why she said about 1.2, right, Joyce?
Right.
So the Parcher Road, Ranchwood, and Shady Lane, that would be a part of that number 1 project then, maybe? No. Yes.
Love the train.
no.
No?
No, the project 1
That's okay. We're waiting
is
on
going to be from, let me make sure I read it right.
602 backwards.
This is
We're talking-
gonna start where we stop on Stetzer Road, and they'll continue down Stetzer Road to 602, and then head south to Route Old 30.
Okay.
And pick up 602 and 30 there. And that's why they want that loop, and then they can pull the water from
Right.
the school at the tower to come down that, to come in down Locust Grove to go into Sulphur.
So then when does Ranchwood Where does that fit into the projects? Is that-
Well, that should probably be the first thing that we're gonna do.
Okay, that's what I was wondering.
Yeah,
Okay.
because
So
that was phase 2 of Stetzer Road for us. That Lynn broke apart because of the cost. But since Stetzer Road came in a lot lower, and I think when he came and talked to all of you, we go ahead and okayed the engineering to do that.
Right.
So that would be phase 2 to do Parcher Road. So that should be next, coming up, after we get Stetzer Road started. Hopefully, and the company that's here could bid on it. That'll keep our cost somewhat reasonable. So,
Kevin's got some questions for you.
I'm up to speed slightly now. Mark shared a couple things with me here real quick. The 3-year payback, is there any interest involved in that?
I think it's more of a pay-as-we-go, is it? I mean, that I don't know, because it's not actually a loan. We're just paying that share each year, right?
we're only
For the
paying
project.
you mean if each construction
He said-
project?
He said it was a 3-year payment plan.
It's not, it's a 3-year construction plan.
So there's gonna be a different section of the project each of the 3
Yeah,
years.
the county will put it out to bid,
Okay.
and they'll pay the 80%, and then we gotta pay 20.
Will we pay our 20% directly to the contractor?
No, I would think we would go through the county,
Okay.
Right.
because
That way
they're
the
putting it
county's
out to
gonna write one
bid.
check.
They're putting it out to bid, so we would do our share to the county.
Okay,
I have a few more.
go on, you got it.
If we agree to this now, we're agreeing to something that's 3 years down the road and potentially longer. Is there a way to make sure that stays set in stone and 2 years from now?
Oh, yeah, it'll be, I
council's
mean,
here,
contracts will be
does it?
signed and it'll be binding as this
Okay,
goes.
so another
Yeah.
council 2 years down the road couldn't undo it?
I don't think
Good
so.
enough, okay.
But may I interrupt?
You may.
You just said that it could potentially 3 years or longer. Well, I think by this money, we have to have them done by 24. I do believe.
Right, I just meant.
Oh, okay.
maybe 3 years and 6 months, you know?
Oh, okay. Let's make sure I was on the same page.
Okay, that's all I had for the moment.
And he did say there's possible grants for the tap-in fees that he applied for.
We're applying for, we should have them getting turned in by Friday for everything that's going out.
For any resident in any of the areas that we're putting lines?
Yes.
Wow. I like that and I hate that all at the same time. That's not fair to the guy that just tapped in yesterday, but.
But
I get
I
it.
know, I
get it.
understand what you're saying. And we don't know if we'll even get it or not, but hopefully we do. Maybe that will incentivize some people to
Yeah,
tap on then.
But there's still fees, they just run it to the front yard.
They'll still have fees.
Residents will have to run it to their house.
This
Yeah.
is just the
The
tap.
tap is just what we passed as an ordinance was the cost of the tap if we had to bore under the road, if the main was on the other side of the road,
okay.
if we had to pay a company to come in and tap it, if we had to put a meter pit in, and the shut-off valve out in the yard.
So what's the grant gonna get you?
The grant will pay for all the material that is needed and the bore.
But the resident still has to pay?
They still have to pay the plumber
To go
or
from the
someone to
tap
bore to their house.
Okay,
And then we'll provide the meter and the backflow instead of the meter pit. That way they could keep their well if they wanted to.
okay. So we would install our portion and they could choose to use it later? Is that what you're saying?
Well, technically, yeah, I guess they could, but if they want it tap and want it bored up to their house, they're gonna go ahead and have it hooked up. But we'll provide all the equipment on the inside of their house they need,
Okay.
except for, we'll provide the backflow and the meter.
Who's
And
that loan through or that grant through?
I'd have to,
Okay.
I don't know if it's
Is it something
EPA
that
or.
we can do later down the road and other times too, where other people want to tap in, or is it only going to be specific really to this project? Or these
I
three
think
projects?
these projects right now, it might still be available down the road, I'd have to check.
Okay.
But what we did is we're applying for everybody that has the opportunity that could tap. It's like 400 or 500 taps we're going after.
Okay, and that's, they got to kind of decide now to use it, and if they say, let me think about it, I'll come back to you next year.
Yeah, we'll have to send new letters out for everybody as we get to each project and say, this is your opportunity. We're applying for the 400 or 500 taps and equipment, but we'll only get reimbursed as we order them. So we can end up turning 200 tap costs back into DNR or whoever it is, so.
Thank you.
Is there
Rebecca?
any possibility for people who have already paid that tap fee to be reimbursed with the grant money?
Not that I'm aware of, but I mean, I can certainly ask, but, you know, when, it's like when funding comes along, you take advantage of it, and
Yeah,
I get it, it's not fair,
I
but,
think that we need to make sure, if this comes to fruition, I'd like to make sure that our message to the public is very clear on that, you know, this is something that was made available to us and is specific for this project, and we understand that people have had to pay in the past, and we understand that people are gonna have to pay again in the future, but, you know, that way, those two groups of people don't see this and like, what, why didn't I get that?
yeah.
So,
Well, and actually, now that you ask, it's probably through the ARPA funding. It's just a different
that makes
branch
sense, yeah.
of
Yeah.
the infrastructure money,
Okay.
so. But I'll find out for sure.
Any other questions? Okay.
But can I,
Yes.
Kevin, you weren't here, but as Joyce was going over the funding, every year we put 115,000 in a water line replacement. Comes right out of that budget. So if you spread this out over 3 years of 400,000 a year, we're really only spending 285,000 that we weren't accounting for.
If we don't need that money anywhere else or anything else.
Right. So,
Free money.
So you need, what do you need from us, sir? You need a motion for us to,
well, I think you need a motion for the county projects that you approve to pay 10% or 20% and do legislation to turn over to the commissioners so they can get moving on their end.
okay?
Are we,
Yes, go
are
ahead.
we doing that at our estimated 20% of 810,000 plus a contingency of blank percent, or how do you feel we need to? Or do you want to come back to us to adjust it?
Yeah, I think we stick with these numbers.
Because
And if something happens that they have a change order or cost of pipe went up or labor or materials, then I think we just keep it at this and then I just have to come back.
Because our last one came in significantly higher.
Right.
So it,
Well, I know, but this is why we're waiting on Stetzer Road because they couldn't get product.
Yeah.
So is that gonna drive the price up? I don't know.
right.
So,
And you need this as an emergency, correct?
I would do this one as an emergency. Parcher Road, I figured we were meeting about water lines. It'd be a good time to talk about it, just to give you an update. We can wait and I can have Dylan come back after he sends it in to the EPA. And we can do that then. We don't have to do legislation now for that, if you don't want to.
I'd rather do it now.
If you
Okay.
have all the information,
But the only thing you gotta wait for is the EPA okay in the.
Right, so that could be, that doesn't have to be an emergency.
No,
You could just spread that over 3 readings,
that'd be fine.
all right?
So I'm asking for a motion as an emergency for the, pay our 20% share of the $870. And then a motion for Parcher Road as a regular to proceed, so.
Well, we'll start with these county projects. I'll move to request legislation as emergency.
Okay, do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, with that, is there any discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passed unanimous. For the Parcher Road as regular legislation,
I make a motion.
okay. Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay. If there's no other discussion, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passed unanimous. Okay, I am asking if there's nothing else about the water lines. Joyce, you have anything else? Okay.
while we're in session, I have a question for Jeff. On the, if we're allowed to talk about the one to Nevada in this
That-
session.
It's water.
Okay. Has all of the engineering been done yet, or are we waiting on approval before engineering happens?
Yeah, right now, the first phase that we did for the application and the loan process is for the preparation of doing the drawings.
Okay, so we haven't started the drawing yet.
No, all we have is a ballpark estimate of
Okay.
1.5.
The reason I asked, I was
so-
approached again by Brian Vaughn, I think I shared this with you before, he lives out that way towards Nevada. He would like to work out an arrangement where he would even give us an easement to put a fill station on his property that we could maintain and run and fill for people on that end of the county. He is very interested in doing that, and he just wants to talk to people. I can give you his contact information.
Well, that'd be great.
Yeah.
I do know we have to wait now that could be a little different if you're talking about a fill station, but I know for residential, we have to wait 6 months till that project is complete before we can let anybody tap onto that line.
Well, even if we
But the fill station could be different.
Well, even if we prepared for it and,
Right.
and laid the right underground utilities for it there.
Right.
And then came back and did it 6 months later, I think knowing ahead of time before you start digging, if there's a way to get a, an easement with him and an agreement in place and all that, I think that would be marvelous.
Well, and I think we probably should do that and reach out to those people on the way to Nevada to see if they want to tap,
Yeah.
because we could put it in as we go, just cap it, and then that part's done.
Correct.
So there's a lot of things to do as we go.
So can I share with him that I've passed that on and
Sure.
you'll reach out to him at some
Yeah.
point just to have a conversation and see if it's something we can facilitate?
Yes.
Cool, thanks.
Okay. I will ask for a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Okay. All in favor?
All right.
Aye.
All right. At 4:41 PM, meeting adjourned.